Yeah, we're in a recession. They just haven't reported it officially yet.
What would be your advice with the experience you've had of navigating through a recession as an agency?
Our revenue dropped 70%, something crazy like that. And we ended up having to make a decision. Are we going to lay everybody off because we couldn't afford everybody? Or
just like that, welcome back to episode 6 of the 8-Figure Agency Show. Guys, what a week. Gary, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Excited about this episode and really excited about the topics we're going to cover today.
Yeah, today, guys, we got some heat. I think it's going to be about a lot of big topics that many people have on their minds. But first off, as always, guys, please take 30 seconds of your time. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, any of the above, leave us a review, please. It truly means the world. Your feedback helps us understand what we can do to do better for you. That's why we're here. So please leave your thoughts. And
Hey, stop ignoring Derrik. Go leave a review. We have thousands of people who listen to this and no one leaves a review. Like one person leaves a review. Just go do it. It literally takes 5 seconds. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and guys, hey, if you're the type of person who is not able to watch an entire or listen to an entire podcast episode, which I understand, believe me, a lot of people are busy, check out our TikTok, check out our Instagram, follow the YouTube Shorts. We put out a ton of content out there daily of clips from the pod of the most valuable sections. TikTok's been doing pretty well. Had a couple videos pop off there. Instagram, same there. If you guys are interested in seeing those clips, definitely check us out there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. With that in mind, guys, let's get right into it. So, Gary, how are you doing today? Are you ready for this hot topic episode?
Yeah, my brain's been a little bit scattered. We're working on some stuff, having to rebuild a couple departments just because of things didn't work out the way that we anticipated. So my brain's like very active. I don't know about you, Derrik, but I'm the type of person when things aren't clicking right at work, like I dream about the things, or if I'm like I wake up in the middle of the night and start working on them, and that's where I'm kind of living right now. And my body actually takes a hit physically. Like I haven't been feeling well. Things just aren't working properly in my like physical health. And then nothing crazy, but I can just feel it. So I'm very scatterbrained right now. I hope it doesn't show up in the episode.
No, hey, listen, it never does. I think you and I are similar in that way. I have probably not on the same level as you, definitely on the same level as you, but, I'm very similar. I've probably the last month, I've maybe pulled over my car on the highway like 7 times just to get a couple thoughts in, a couple works things in, because like I had an idea out of nowhere. But no, that's totally true. That's at night especially, like you're trying to go to bed and your mind is racing. Honestly, sometimes, I don't know if you're the same way with this, but sometimes I think about it like, what would it be like to not have to think about stuff like this? I don't know if you ever had that thought run through your mind.
I've gotten there before, right? So I've been able to build out things in a way where I'm like, cool, I'm done with work. This is done. I can think about new things, right? So it's you can't really change the way your brain wants to work, but you can focus where it focuses on. And when I'm going back and fixing things or going back and like, man, this didn't work properly, a lot of times that comes off a little bit more negative from a mindset than, hey, let's create something new and something exciting. I think entrepreneurs love to build those new things. That's very fun, engaging. I actually dream about those as well and wake up thinking about those as well. But it's much more energetic than sucking off of you. So I think those are the different. I don't know if I could ever turn my brain off. I don't even know how that would work.
Oh, no, that's not. I don't think I ever can either. My thing is just like sometimes I genuinely think about like, is there people out there that like go to sleep and you don't have to? I'm like, oh my God, I wish. Like every day I'm going to bed, I'm like, oh, did I do that? Did I forget to do this? Did I touch base with this team member? Did I send that thing to the client? Oh, what if this happens? How am I going to solve that? Or this, that, this? And that actually is the perfect segue into the old looming recession. We've been hearing a lot about this. I don't know about you, Gary, but I've been hearing a lot about it on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram. A lot of people, are talking about the ever-coming recession. Some people say that we're already in it. We're waiting for the report to come out. I think it's either this week or next week.
Yeah.
First off, what are your thoughts from a business owner's perspective the last decade plus?
Well, yeah, I think the word recession gets thrown around a lot, and most people don't realize what it is. All a recession is 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. That's all it is. So, yeah, we're in a recession. They just haven't reported it officially yet. The last 2 quarters have definitely hit. You can see signals of the recession through the big layoffs that these tech companies are having. And what they're doing is they're projecting sales, or they're seeing sales go down. They're projecting sales are going to be going down. And the only way they can really hedge against that is to lay off people, because that lowers their cost, which keeps their profits up, which keeps their stock price up. So that's why you always see those bigger companies do that first. And so we're definitely, this is my third one, if you count COVID, like fourth big reset or recession type situation. Now, what makes this one a little bit different than the other ones is there's way more debt in the system that the federal government has put in, so they can't raise interest rates as high as they have in the past. And now they're saying that they're going to keep raising interest rates, but what they're hoping that happens is people hold on to their money, stop spending it as much, which will slow the economy down, but that also slows down inflation. What you don't want is high interest rates plus inflation, and that's really, really bad, or hyperinflation. So that's what they're trying to protect against. We're going to see in the next couple months how that goes. But yeah, it's definitely going to hit a lot of people really hard. Now, here's the good news, though, Derrik. When you're a small, nimble marketing company, recessions are great. And I actually built my first company in the middle of a recession, and it was the best time to build.
No, that's super interesting. And I've been giving that a lot of thought, right? Like as a business owner, as an agency owner, this would kind of be like, I was alive in 08, but I was a kid, right? So I didn't really experience it. I was in elementary school. But for me, this would be like the first big event. Like even COVID, I didn't really experience it. Like, of course we did. We all did, right? Family members, this person laid off, that person, but all this other stuff. From a business owner, from an agency owner, right, and to our listeners, right, what would be your advice with the experience you've had of navigating through a recession as an agency? Now, that question comes in both for a nimble agency like mine, because we're smaller, and for anybody listening who might have a little bit of a bigger agency like yours.
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you what happened to me when I started. So I started during the 08 crash. And so I quit my job, started selling marketing, and then the economy just fell apart. And I was just a little bit older than you, a couple years older than you. And so I had no idea what to expect. Like, is this the end of the world? Restaurants were shutting down. Lots of businesses actually shut down during that time. It was really bad. Now, back then, it was a little bit different again. It was the home crash. The home market crashed, and people were losing their homes. People overextended. They had a lot of crazy mortgage products. And so that ended up driving to people spending less, which made businesses shut down. With that said, the businesses that stay open still need marketing. And when they go to buy marketing, they're going to buy the cost-effective marketing. They're not going to pay for the expensive marketing. So the bigger the agency is, the less they're able to be nimble and adjust their pricings and make things work. The smaller companies can make things work. So what you really want to be thinking about is, okay, who do we serve? How is the economy going to affect them? And then how can we package and communicate with them? So one of the things that we did is we sent out a bunch of scripting to all of our account managers, all of our team, and really walk through the basic mindset that a business owner should have through a recession. When recession actually hits, and meaning hits your business, and your revenue starts to drop because people are spending less, that's actually the time you have to spend more on marketing. You have to, from a business standpoint. If you cut marketing at that time, then you're gonna shrink, and then you're gonna shrink again the next month when that marketing's not hitting your front door. And so it's the best time for a marketing agency, as long as you're able to articulate that value and bring that value to that business.
So look, that's a great point. Let's start with that mindset, right? Because that's where my head goes first. If my mindset's not right, then everything else in the company is going to follow what that mindset is. And I think we both know that all too well, a lot of our listeners as well. Got to get the mind right for everything else to click. So going into a recession, how should a business owner be thinking? Like, what should our mindset be to successfully navigate this?
Yeah. So first thing, who are your clients, and how is this going to impact them? So if you're serving somebody who sells consumer goods are going to slow down. So that means they're going to sell less of their product, and people aren't going to buy as much when they do buy. They're going to buy a little bit less, or maybe they don't buy every month and now they buy every 2 months. Well, that really hurts their bottom line. So then the first places that businesses go to save money, and I'm not saying this is right, I'm just telling you how a lot of business owners think, is we'll just cut marketing because that's an easy way to save that money that we just lost. But again, that hurts you the following month. So what you have to be able to articulate is, hey, we actually need to spend right now, and the competition is going to be cutting their budgets. Now's the time to spend to get your numbers back up to where you had them before, and you have to spend a little bit more to get there.
Got it. So basically, you're saying like reverse engineer it. So look at who you're serving, understand not just who you're serving, but who are your clients serving. When you understand that, basically get a good solid ground of, okay, based on who our clients are serving, how is the recession going to affect our bottom line? Now, let me ask you this. Is it possible, wishful thinking, that the clients that you work with won't be affected by the recession at all, thus your business won't be affected? In fact, it will grow?
For sure. Yeah. So like dental's interesting. So dental is almost recession proof. Like it doesn't really dip that much. If you go back and look at all the way back to like all the last setbacks that we've had in the economy, general dentistry has dipped maybe 1%, 2%. It's very, very small. And so you can count on people coming in, still getting their cleaning, still getting their basic treatment done. Where dental gets hit really hard is in the specialty treatment. So that's like orthodontics, Invisalign, implants. Those dry up quickly because the consumer goes, I could go spend 10 grand on this right now, but I'll just wait a couple more months. Well, if everybody does that over and over and over again, those businesses can disappear. And in 2008, they did. A lot of the boutique specialty places ended up shutting down. And so, yeah, definitely. You can have people who aren't going to be impacted by the downturn, or even impacted positively by the downturn. Like as an example, like right now, remote workers are going to be huge. If you have a business around remote workers that are going to save businesses money by moving their labor cost offshore, that's going to be hot for a long time, for many more years.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing for sure. And I work with Corey from Team, and more than half my staff is from him. So I'm able to save a lot of cost. But, honestly, I personally feel great about it because I'm letting these people make really good livings in their country, like really good livings. And they're doing fantastic work. And in the event of a recession, I feel really confident that, I'm able to, because I'm saving so much money up front, even though everybody's still getting their piece, right? I have such a nimble team, which is really, really, I'm so grateful for that. Let me ask you this then, Gary. So here's how I'm imagining it, right? So if we go into a recession, a lot of our listeners, especially if they're in the agency space, which hopefully you are, because that's what we're about, right? They probably work with possibly similar clients that I have. Like I've personally spoken to on 2 private calls the last couple of weeks with people who work with very similar clients that I do, right? Like, people who want to grow on TikTok, and that's their focus. What have you seen happens to people investing in that type of service in a recession? Is it a risky area to be in, or?
Oh man, it's so hard because the last downturn was like 2008 and 2011, and social media wasn't like a huge thing then, right? And we've been on like a bull market since then. So I have to go look at other case studies to like look at what this is going to bring. I think it really just boils down to what value is that providing to that individual, and if there's a residual or a direct impact to their top line, then they have to keep it, and you can articulate that value and they will keep it. But if not, if it's a vanity thing, then they won't keep it. And I think that has to be looked at case by case, even within every agency, right? So some people just do it just to have big numbers. If that's the case, that's probably going to dry up if their business slows down.
Yeah, I actually, here's my perspective on this, and I think I'd love for you to pick this apart, right? Yep. I've actually seen, so the last couple months, the clients I've been working with for a while, they've actually like doubled down, like their investments, and I don't think these people by any means are blind or stupid whatsoever. Yeah. Like they can see what's happening, and they've actually brought it up, right? But they've still doubled down, they've increased their investment with us, right? So that, to me, clearly shows
what
that,
kind of businesses are they? Like what kind of business?
So that's exactly what I'm explaining, right? So that's exactly my point. So we work with podcasts, right? And content creators, right? Kyle, let me clip this up. Let me set this up for you, Kyle. Here is what the recession is going to reveal about the media business and about podcasters and content creators. So this will definitely reveal that a lot of content creators and podcasts and all these types of businesses are over leveraged in the sense where their only income stream is from ad dollars, whether that's from YouTube AdSense revenue or from sponsorship revenue. And when that's the case during a recession, those ad dollars dry up, and they dry up really quickly. And when that happens, your one income stream disappears, right? The recession is going to reveal that, and it's going to reveal that blind side. So if you are a podcast owner or you're an agency like mine that works with podcasters or that works with content creators, you have to help these clients, right, see that's the case, that they have to diversify. With that in mind, we work with clients where they didn't just build a media company. They built a media company that fuels their back-end business. They sell some sort of service or product. I have a lot of those types of clients, which I'm super grateful for, and I have a lot of confidence in their ability to stick around. What are your thoughts on that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, for me, we have podcasts, but we use the podcast as not a revenue generator. I don't generate revenue from any of them. It's all for creating content, creating awareness, creating education, creating connections, creating leads, those kind of things. So I just have a totally different perspective on that. I really don't understand the paid podcast, like people who make a lot of money on the podcast world. I mean, I get it. I get why they do it, and that's awesome. But I just don't understand the economics of that.
Yeah, no, and look, that's exactly right. And that's why I really think, and oftentimes, as much as it's a lot of people, it's hard to get to that, but recessions are not all bad. I think there's a lot of good that comes from recessions, 100%. And I've personally, I'm excited to go through this, but I'm also hesitant, right, as every business owner would be. But I think it will reveal a lot. It will reveal a lot of people who are over-leveraged, especially in the space that I happen to be in. A lot of podcasters, a lot of content creators, their sole revenue was like YouTube AdSense, and that took like a 50% dip, right? Or their sole revenue was like their partner platform where they host their podcast on, had their ad reads, and that went down 50%.
Yeah.
That's just when you don't own some sort of IP, some sort of business behind it to supplement that income when times are bad, you're going to suffer.
Yeah, it's kind of like Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is an interesting product, right? So Bitcoin is a self-regulating product, and it got over-leveraged. And so it got to $69,000, and people were taking out loans against their Bitcoin, and then they got margin called. And so they had to pay when Bitcoin came down a little bit, those people had to either pay the full amount or turn in their Bitcoin to pay off that loan. And then when they turn in the Bitcoin to pay off that loan, it goes down lower and then lower, and it keeps triggering more and more and more. But guess what happens at the end? Bitcoin ends up being this really clean, pure product that there's no leverage in anymore. So it cleans itself out. And the economy works in the same way. In 2008, the housing market that we were just talking about, there was a bunch of people who took out loans that they shouldn't have took out. They had 0% interest or interest-only payments with a balloon that grew to these huge payments in 2 or 3 years, and everything, I'll just refi. Well, when the market pivoted, all those people lost their houses. Also, you could take out almost to 100% loan to value on houses back then too. You can't do that anymore. And then there was another thing called ninja loans. No income, no job verification. So you could go in and buy a house just writing on a piece of paper, I make this much money and I work here for this long, and they would do a loan for you. And all those people lost their houses. So that caused the housing market to actually correct because it was too hot. And right now in the economy for the workplace, yeah, there's people who are out there and probably not in the best business position. And that when the tide goes out, you're going to see who is fishing without a net, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think my head goes to, one thing from what you're saying is employees, right? I think there might be a really interesting shift. Like over the last basically 12 years, I think a lot of employees after 2008, they got a little bit greedy. And you may disagree with me. I'd love your opinion. I haven't been in this for too long. But from what I've been seeing the last 2 years, especially since COVID, is people for a skill that's worth, say, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month. I'm like, that's just a decent salary. And I understand now with the economy and inflation, I totally get it. But those same skills, people are like, oh, yeah, I expect a remote job. I expect full benefits. And I expect $8,500, $9,000 a month. And when I hear those numbers, I'm like, whoa, I don't have that much money to give you, right? And the skill is not worth that much to me. What are your thoughts? Do you think there'll be a reversal in that hiring market?
Oh, absolutely. That's part of what the recession does. Is the recession is when when the Fed raises interest rates, what they're trying to do is slow down money circulation. So when money's cheap to borrow, then that increases the circulation of the money. People want to borrow more money, create more projects, start more businesses, buy more properties, things like that. But when they raise those interest rates, that money really slows down. And then what that does is it removes some of the jobs. And when the jobs get removed, the good people stay, and the people who kind of overinflated their value and maybe overplayed their hand. Like as an example, I see it on TikTok all the time. People are like, hey, you should go and try to find a new job every year and upgrade every year and change position. Well, that's great for a salary position. that's a horrible position for building relationships and building things with people that are going to be long lasting, because the last 2 jobs that you left after a year just to get that salary bump, they're not bringing you back. And the one you're with now, they're not loyal to you. And so there's give and take to everything, right? You can always go get more money, but also you have to burn some bridges sometimes to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad we went there, because I've been seeing, I've been analyzing this for a long time, for many years, right? Because I was recently in a position where I had to decide, like, do I go to school? Do I pursue a regular job? And I knew that was never the right thing for me. And that's why I'm sitting here with you today. But I have seen a lot of times online that people demonize the basic 9 to 5. And listen, you probably have heard this before too, for sure, right? And that's, I felt that way. People demonize it. They said, oh, you're giving away this much time and 9 to 5 every day. It's just sitting in a cubicle. But when you really look at it, like when you look at it from an overarching perspective, there's nothing wrong with doing the quote unquote 9 to 5. You get immense job security if you play your cards right. And to Gary's point, if you're job hopping every year to increase your salary, the minute a recession hits, guess who's the first that's getting let go? The new hire that's got the highest salary. You're not that valuable to them, right? You're not in a downturn, right? But if you stick with the same company long term, if you provide value, you get sticky. And we actually talked about this, I believe, in episode 2 or 3, and exactly how employees can keep themselves really valuable in a company, right? Over time, you're going to be an A player for the team. They're going to keep you even in a downturn, like they're going to keep you forever.
Yeah, I think sometimes I've had people negotiate for higher salaries, and I said, look, I really value you. What the salary you're asking for is a lot of money. And here's the thing. If we end up giving it to you and you don't perform, we have to let you go. We don't even have a choice. At least with a lower salary, we can move you, we can change position. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some of that going on when the tides shift again.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen my personal experience, growing this agency. I have seen a lot of people on the employee side, which, listen, rightfully so, not really understand how a business actually works, right? And I get it, because you have to run a business to know how that works, right? That makes sense, right? But when you get the highest paid person, if they're not showing up performing every day, they are the first to go. Like, they are the first to go. We're seeing this. I mean, yeah, you mentioned this, like with Coinbase and all these other bigger companies, Amazon, Google, Apple, they're firing like hundreds of people. In some of these companies, it's thousands. And a lot of the times it's their highest paid employees, like the cushy people that are like at the top, that don't do much here, that aren't that valuable. But the lower paid people that do all of the legwork, those are the people that are staying. Those are the people that keep the company running. And to cut profits, they fire the highest paid people.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. And you never know. It could be one of those things. We've had recessions that were very short-lived recessions, literally a couple months, and then the economy rebounds. And when we had longer ones, a lot of people think this is going to be one of those longer ones because of COVID and all the backlog of all the printing of money. But you really don't ever know. Coming into COVID, everybody thought, oh, the economy's going to crash, everything's going to go south, housing's going to go south, and it didn't. Some areas did, and some areas didn't. But to your point earlier, that the recession kind of shows how things are going to work out, or like it kind of reveals who the real players are. COVID did the same thing. All COVID did was kill the businesses that were dying a slow death already, and it boosted the businesses that were on the right track and were innovating and doing things for the future. So those businesses all exploded, and the ones that were kind of dying anyways just died faster.
I have an interesting story about that, right? And Gary, you know this because you and I in the show previously months ago spoke about this many times. Since the business really took off, I've been very conservative, like with the money, right? Like I've been reinvesting a ton, but I have a lot of cash on hand relative to what the business makes. So in the event of a downturn, team, if you're listening to this, we're good, right? Because, we can support the company as is right now, probably for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Just as is, without another dollar coming into the door. So it's like that position.
That's what happened to us during COVID. So we were very lean when COVID hit. We didn't have any debt, and we our revenue dropped like 70%, something crazy like that. And we ended up having to make a decision. Are we going to lay everybody off because we couldn't afford everybody, or do we want to keep everybody around for the next 3 months, see what happens, and hopefully the economy turns and things open back up again? And we decided to go with that. And the reason that I chose to do that was we made a very strategic decision. If the economy would have stayed closed, who cares if I have a couple $100,000 in payroll, right? Like it doesn't really change anything. We would have been in a way worse situation. But because we were able to keep the doors open and keep everybody in position, and the economy did open back up again,
Yep.
we were able to, we literally 3x'd our business in under a year. And then now we're at like 5-6x. We're somewhere right in there. So it's just continued to grow and grow and grow. And we had a way head start on everybody else.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, that's the prime position, I guess. And Gary, again, feel free to pick this apart. Of course, you have more experience, but from the experience I have, for me, playing conservative felt right. Like I went with my gut, and it's not like I'm not making investments back into the business, because right now there's nothing for me personally that yields a better return on my money than investing in my team, investing in my people. That's just being a business owner, and I couldn't be more grateful. But at the same time, because I'm really glad that the last 7 months I was more conservative with it, because now I'm in that position where I believe, for at least 3 to 4 months without a dollar coming in, as the team stands and as expenses are, I can operate the whole company as is. And the likelihood of 3 to 4 months of $0 coming in at that point, the door's closed at that point.
Anyways, yeah.
Exactly. If we can't weather that storm, which I don't foresee happening, and we're gonna work really hard to make sure that doesn't happen. And how we do that, exactly like you mentioned, is value. But look, I think my question to you would be this, right? So you explained, as a business owner, you got to get your mindset right. You got to get clear on your mindset, on what value your company provides, and that way you can understand from your client's perspective, who do your clients serve, how is the recession going to affect them. But what about your internal operations? How do you prepare your team for a recession?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, first thing that we did was we created scripting around how to communicate about what the value of marketing is, and how the not investing in marketing during a downturn is about as crazy as you can get, because it's doubling down on your business shrinking. So that's the first way that we explain that. Secondly, I just explained to our team how we view the recession, and how we view that it's going to impact our clients, and then how we view that's going to impact us, and just be transparent about it, and just say, hey, here's what we're thinking, because there is people aren't going to leave the company. There's not like a ton of safe harbors, right? So someone's not going to leave and say, well, I'm not going to work for a dental marketing company anymore. I'm going to go work at the 98-cent store because that's safe, because those are, you know what I mean? So people aren't going to do that. If they were thinking that way, they would be business owners, right? And they're not. They want to be a part of a team. And so, that's the way that we approach it. I'm sure there's other things that we could do. I'll just be honest with you, though. My company's grown every time there's been a recession, like massively. It's how I got my foot in the door. We grew the first time. We grew during COVID. I just think that this is going to be, a little bit of pain, but then we're going to figure out, okay, how to adjust to that pain and then grow from there.
So it sounds to me, right, like again, we all know this, but it starts with your own mindset, right? That if you're good as the leader, then the whole team will just follow suit, right? Like if you just share like, hey, here's how we're looking at this, here's how we're tackling this. And then I guess take it one step further, and team members are team members because they value security a lot more, right? They don't take on as much risk. So if we just say, hey guys, we're secure, right? They'll feel more comfortable to take that hard steps, and
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would definitely share that. Like, hey, here's how we've structured the company, and this is what we're thinking. When we went through the COVID thing, I told the team, we borrowed this much money, so we now have this much to pay your salaries for the next 3 months. And I think the economy is going to open up before then. And I hope I'm right. And let's just see and watch what happens. And that earned a lot of trust from our team, and built a lot of relationships that I'm thankful that we did that. I'm really happy that we took that gamble.
I'd love to, first of all, great call. And I'm super happy that happened, because it wouldn't be sitting here today if that didn't happen probably. But I'd love to look into that a little bit more, right? Because I'm the type of person, and I have a feeling you are too, that I really like to understand both options, or not options, but possibilities, because doing so lets me navigate it properly. In the event that the economy didn't open up, you took on all that debt, and it didn't open up in the 3 months that it did, what would be the outcome of that? So anybody listening, if they're ever in that position, knows how to navigate.
That's how I came to the conclusion that it was the right decision. It would have been the nuclear outcome, right? What would happen if America shut everything down? Because remember, I'm in dental offices. It's not like we're gyms or restaurants or something like that. What if everything was shut down for 6 months in America? The least of my worries is some debt. Like, I'm going to be trying to figure out where to get food and water from. So it was like, okay, well, that was an easy choice then. It wasn't a hard choice at all.
Okay. So you're basically saying, look at it from the bigger perspective, like past your business. What's going to happen if that really happens? If your thing goes under, what's the actual nuclear outcome, as you put it? And it'll most likely be more of a radical situation like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID's very unique, right? We
Of
haven't had a
course.
COVID situation in over 100 years, and the last one was, before any technology was around to be able to really measure, pay attention to it outside of body counts, right? So COVID was very, very unique at navigating that. So that outcome was a very unique outcome, but a normal recession like what we're about to experience right now is more along the lines of like, okay, is there going to be hyperinflation? That would be like a nuclear situation where people can't afford food. And I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just saying like that's if you keep rolling out what's happening, that's like nuclear situation. The other side of it would be raising interest rates and really slowing down the economy so people stop spending money, which leads to massive layoffs, which leads to the inflation coming down and prices of things coming down, which would actually fix the inflation problem. If that happens, then how does that impact those businesses around you? Again, in dental, if you're in GP, it's not going to impact it that much. It's going to impact it a little bit because people are still going to come and do their general dentistry. So then we're talking about we might take a 20% hit, a 30% hit. What does that look like? What does that feel like? How would we adjust to that? That's how we do it, but that's a guess, right? Like I'm totally guessing at that point.
No, yeah, that makes sense. And I'll be honest, my initial reaction, also GP, general practice, for those of you who weren't sure, that's what that stands for. But, my reaction to that, right, when you say 10, 20, 30% hit, as a business owner, that to me is huge. Because the level I'm at, a 10% hit even, like that's huge. It's like losing one client.
You have to plan.
Right?
So you have to plan for that then. So I would go like 30, 40%, and say, okay, what does that look like and how would I operate the business?
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what I would do. I mean, obviously, you just have to, unfortunately, lay off certain people who are fulfilling that work, right? You'd have to cut this expense, cut that expense. And at the end of the day, you can still get down to profitability, which then we can allow us to double down and reinvest. But yeah, I mean, that's how I would navigate it. I guess, let me ask you this question then. What, with your experience, right? And for agency owners that are listening, or people who even want to start an agency during a recession, right? Because it is a great time to start. What are some things that we should look out for while we're navigating this? Some warning signs, not that a recession's coming, but like, for example, the recession's here and some warning signs that, hey, you're about to lose like 50% of your business. What are your thoughts on that?
If your clients, you have to, it's empathy, right? It's being able to understand and put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So I have to be able to put myself in my client's shoes and think about their business. That's what you have to do. That's it. So if you're putting yourself in your client's shoes and then looking and thinking through as you're them, what would you do if you were them? And what's going to happen to and then you have to think through their customers. What are their customers going to do? Are they going to buy more iPhones or less iPhones? Are they going to buy more of whatever product they're selling or less of the product that they're selling? Are they going to spend more or spend less? Okay, well, they're going to spend less. Okay, how much less? They were coming every 6 months. Now they're going to come every 12 months. What does that look like? How does that impact that business? And then what gets cut out of that business? What are the first things that get cut out of that business? Marketing's usually very high on the list. But the reason marketing's high on the list is because it's external. So it's easier for me to cut marketing than it is to lay somebody off. Then someone has to come in and be able to explain, hey, you could actually keep some of your people if you increase your marketing budget by 30%. We can get you this many more new customers, which will get you back to normal. Then you don't have to do as many layoffs. But that conversation has to be had, and you have to be able to communicate in that fashion, which is a little bit more in depth than most people can wrap their head around. Now, if you're a brand new agency, it's a totally different story. If you're a brand new agency, you then get an opportunity. So for me, the opportunity when I first started was, hey, you're in the phone book. You're paying $5,000 a month in the phone book. It's not working. Your business is shrinking right now. Give me $2,500 of that $5,000 that you're spending, and I'll give you twice the results.
Yep.
So guess what everybody said? Okay. Right? You're going to save me money and give me more results? It's very simple at that point. So you all you have to do is worst case scenario, and then best case scenario, and then pick a road and say, okay, play it all the way out. How am I going to play this all the way out? How does this impact them? And then from there, play that out in your business. It's just like a video game. How if you go, in SimCity, if you go this way, what happens? And what are the consequences of that? And you have to start thinking that through, and same with the other road as well.
You know what's really important? At the end of the day, and I've said this many times, right? It's important to take everything you hear with a grain of salt, right? But when the inevitable recession happens and you're operating your business, the best bet is to always go with your gut. Nobody knows your business better than you, and that's one thing that I've learned a lot, over the last few months. And Gary, I think you agree with that, right? Nobody truly knows the inner ins and outs of it better than you do. So going with your gut is 99.9999999% the right answer. Now, I'm not saying don't go looking externally for advice, because there's a lot of people like Gary who have been through it, and I'm very grateful to learn from him and get advice from him, because now I feel more prepared than ever to go through this type of recession. But going with your gut, always the best bet, because when you look back, you can look at, hey, was it the right or wrong decision? And there'll be nobody else to blame except yourself. There really never is at the end of the day.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to your gut is there's a huge difference between acting off of fear and acting off of knowledge, right? So all fear is the unknown. So if you're acting off your gut in the center of a fearful situation, you're probably going to do something stupid. But so you have to get information. Information really helps clear away the fear. And sometimes we don't look at the information because it scares us. And so then we're just like, oh, I'll just operate in this fear. And so that's the only thing I would add, is that you really try to clear the fear by looking at all the information.
Yep, and that's why experience is valuable, ladies and gentlemen. See, I wasn't even thinking about that, and that's exactly right. Like, I was started nodding my head the second he said that. I mean, yeah, that's exactly right. So look, I mean, overall, to sum it all up, right, I think we're both in agreement. Recession's coming, and I think it's just a matter of time. I think we're in it right now, honestly, just the stuff that I'm seeing. But as a business owner, how do you navigate it? Get your mindset right. Look at your customers. Lead with value. Really be empathetic, like you said. See how will the recession affect your clients, right? Will people still be buying from them? Will they be buying as much? Will they be buying more? Will they be buying less? If that happens, are you high up on the list of expenses that are going to be cut? When you have all of that, the next step is, right, getting your team prepared. How do you get your team prepared? Well, if you have that first step done, you're very clear on like, hey, this is probably going to happen. Here's what we're going to do to combat that. Sometimes, the unfortunate event of people being laid off, expenses need to be cut, might just have to happen. You have to stomach that, right? But, Gary, to your point that you just made, don't go with your gut on a decision out of fear, right? Actually look at the data. Don't be afraid to look at the numbers, even though that might be hard. Super important. I think that might be a little hard for me, when this really goes down. But I'm going to look back at this episode in like 3 months and probably remind myself of this exact conversation.
Well, some of the greatest companies have been built in recession. So yes, we can get super negative about it, but I really think that if you're a smaller agency or just starting, this is awesome. The most amazing opportunities in the world are going to be created during this time.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in that there's an opportunity in everything, even in the hardest times. And I'm speaking from experience on that aspect of it. Like even during COVID, right, when the economy went crazy, my dad and I were actually able to, source PPE and masks. We were able to do that. We were able to bring that to market. We helped probably thousands of people. We actually served schools. We served hospitals. So we got them face masks, gowns, face shields, and all that stuff. So even though, there was a crazy economic downturn, we turned it into an opportunity, but we were also able to do good. So I'm a big believer in that even in the worst of times, there is opportunity hidden. In fact, opportunity that might be even bigger and better than when times are, all good. At least that's my 100%. Experience.
Yeah, I had somebody when I first started the business, they explained how bigger businesses operate and smaller businesses operate. So smaller businesses are like speedboats, and so you can or jet skis, right? You can just turn on a dime, left, right. You can even take them off of jumps, right? Like you can be really creative with them. Where bigger businesses are like cruise ships. And once they start going in a direction, it's really hard to move or pivot them. And it takes a long time to pivot. And so that's when there are economic downturns, what it actually does is these bigger businesses that can't move and can't go left or right quickly or can't get their organization because they have thousands of people, right? Like it's impossible to really pivot quickly. That's where the advantage of the little guy comes into play. And really is able to come and take advantage of areas that you just can't. As an example, you were delivering PPE during a pandemic. Well, why couldn't the bigger companies do it? Because they weren't able to pivot their business model. But two guys in their house were able to figure it out because you could be super nimble and be like, yeah, we'll pick it up here, or we'll go over here, and yeah, we'll pay this, and just figure out how to make it all work, where the supply chain on these bigger companies literally broke and they couldn't move their business, even though that's what they did their whole life, and you were brand new and never done it before.
Yeah, no, when I write my book one day, that whole time, those 2 years will definitely be in that book, because I'm not kidding. I was staying up till 2 a.m. I was a junior in high school, staying up till 2 a.m, talking to suppliers in China, getting medical equipment during peak of a pandemic. We were delivering stuff to people personally, guaranteeing next day delivery in our minivan. It was so much fun, and it was a great time with my dad. We probably got closer than ever at that point. But with that all said and in mind, Gary, is there anything else that you think the viewers or listeners should know about going into this recession as agency owners?
Yeah, don't watch the news.
That's good. I have to take your advice on that.
Don't watch the news. Because just remember this. Well, you know this, Derrik. What sells, what gets more clicks on social media? Hey, I saved the puppy outside, or hey, the sky is falling. Sky is falling. It's like it's somewhere between 7 to 10 times more clicks. Once the news companies figure this out, they're always going to show everything in the most negative light. And the more you put that into your brain, the more toxic your brain's going to be. The negativity is going to come, but it's not going to be as bad as whatever's on the news. The news is going to tell you the worst case scenario over and over and over and over and over again. And the more you listen to that, the more depressed and worried and anxiety ridden you'll be. Be informed, but take the information in, read it. Don't watch, all the alphabet soup channels. Just go in, read the numbers. Maybe watch a couple trusted YouTube, people that talk about the economy that you trust. And then that's it. And then leave it alone, and then make your decisions and go from there.
No, that's exactly right. And, that's why I think what we're doing here, Gary, is so great. I'm biased when I say that, but we're not here to, share news. We're here to literally share our experiences, which is awesome. Yeah. And look, I'll be here for the little guy, sharing with you guys the experiences I'm going through, asking Gary, who is the bigger fish in the pond, or in the sea rather, how to navigate all this. And then hopefully when this is all said and done and we look back in 2 years, I will be the bigger fish. Yeah, and at that point, we're going to have to switch this all up.
Yeah. And we're trying to be bigger. Like, the magic number to kind of for businesses is you can get around $20 million a year. That you can survive almost anything. That doesn't mean you can't go out of business, but it just takes a really long time. So that's where we're trying to get to. That's kind of our magic number that we're aiming for right now. But we're not there yet, right? So our business could contract and go backwards. Obviously, that's not our plan, but I mean, anything is possible. And, just don't let that stress you out. Just look at it as the opportunities that are going to be created.
Hey, I would like to ask you, I don't think we've ever talked about this, but what is your goal with the company? Do you have a certain revenue past 20 million where like, hey, this is what I see? Are you eventually the type of person who's like, I want to take an exit? Like, well, where are you at like with that?
Yeah, I don't. I'm of the mindset you buy and hold everything as long as possible. I don't want to sell something, or that's not really in my DNA. I don't build things to sell them. Now, I don't think it's a bad idea to build something so it could be sold because you're going to build it well. But that's not my mindset. So I just really want to grow it, and then I want to create opportunities for people. So my version of winning right now, Derrik, is how do I set other people up for success to be successful in their careers? And if I can have 10, 20 people who are hungry, love what they do every day, they're growing, they're learning, and I have people like this on my team, that brings me so much joy. And it's like, okay, well, if the company grows from 20 million to 25 million, that's great, but it's like if I said, hey, your business is going to grow $3,000 in MRR this month, that's cool. You're like, okay, invest more and get more. We need to get more of this or hire another person. Like it's probably not going to like transform your life at this point. And so the numbers that we're talking about here, that's not going to transform my life. It's not going to change the way that I live. It doesn't really change anything for me. So it's really about just the people that we get to impact. First, the people that are closest to me are the people on the team. And then from there, obviously helping our clients and helping them grow their organizations.
Yeah, I've been giving that a lot of thought personally because I'm very grateful and blessed to be in a point where I don't think, and I don't want this to come out the wrong way because I don't want this to be a bragging thing. I'm very grateful. I live with my parents, so I have like no expenses. But like when I go to dinner and like I don't have to look at the tab and I just give them a credit card, like that for me, that's all I've been working for. Like that feels really good. And the fact that I'm here, I couldn't be more grateful, couldn't be more blessed. Not bragging.
Save
it's
your
just
money,
a great
man. You'll
feeling.
have kids and stuff someday. That gets expensive, but yeah.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I'm still being conservative with everything. But listen, guys, thank you so much for watching and or listening to episode 6 of the 8-Figure Agency Show. If you made it this far, that means you absolutely loved the episode. We're super grateful. If you're listening, then please leave a review. It really means the world to us. We will share it in the next episode if you do leave a review, as long as you're not bashing us, or maybe if you're bashing us, we'll share it too.
Yeah,
we'll
I
see.
like those too.
Those are always fun. If you're listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, rather, guys, leave a like on the video, leave a comment. Please genuinely share your thoughts. We'd love to bring up some of your comments on the show. We'd love to share these ideas. We want the community to get engaged. And guys, like I mentioned before, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, check us out there. It's all linked in the description below. Check out Gary's content. He's got a really big personal brand. He's got nearly 80K on TikTok himself. He documents some other content. Go follow him there. Check out Age. Agency Growth Engine. Wow, this plug list is gonna keep growing, but Age.
Yeah, no,
podcast.
we're gonna test you on all of this as well. So we're gonna make sure that you do all of this.
Yes, we are. No, definitely check out Age though. Agency Growth Engine. Gary released the first ever episode with Chris Cunningham last week, and that episode has been killing it, right, Gary? It's been crushing it.
It's been going good. Yeah, that was really fun. If you want to hear about like how to build a Super Bowl ad or things like that in the marketing world, like we talked about stuff that I've never got to talk with anybody about directly before.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. With that said, guys, thank you for being here. Episode 6. Stay tuned for episode 7. Peace out, everybody.